Blood and Salt by Liggett. Read to you by me. Chapter 1. Body of Years. The dead girl hung upside down over our kitchen table. Ropes dug into her ankles as she swayed from the chandelier. Blood traced a line from the familiar cut across the palm of her hand to one of her delicate fingertips. The drop quivered before joining the little puddle headed for my twins' cereal bowl. I pulled it out of the way, sloshing rice, milk, and granola onto the table. Ash, Rhys yelled at me, mouth full, spoon mid-scoop. I'm not finished with that. Ignoring him, I dumped his soggy old man cereal into the sink. I knew he couldn't see the blood, but I couldn't bear to watch death touch him. The dead girl belonged only to me. Perfect, Rhys said, pushing his slinky frame away from the table and holding up his milk-soaked sleeve. You'll live. I lobbed a tea towel at him. My mother moved barefoot through the open kitchen, her long chestnut hair swinging behind her as she lit a bundle of sage, to ward off the grouchiness. She wasn't some wannabe hippie. The sage was a holdover from her childhood. 17 years ago, my mother escaped Quivira, a spiritual commune in Kansas, with a ton of golden ingots and the two of us in her belly. Coffee works for that too, Rhys smirked as he poured the last bit into his mug. Ooh, yes. Thanks, love. Mom took it right from under his nose. I had to press my lips together to stifle a laugh. Rhys glared at me as he scooped up the oily black beans into the machine and stabbed the butt in. This was aggressive as my brother ever got. I welcomed the high-pitched grinding noise, anything but the sound of that rope. The dead girl had been with me for as long as I could remember, hanging above my crib, my bed, but her visits had grown further apart with each passing year. Because of my mom's freaky upbringing, she thought I was born a conduit, meaning that I had a special gift allowing me to tap into the senses and emotions of my deceased female ancestors. So far, I'd only seen the one girl, and she never made me feel much more than annoyed. The grinding stopped. The rope crackled and creaked as it spun the dead girl around to face me, and it felt like all the air had been crushed from my lungs. Bracing myself against the cool granite countertop, I stared up at the face I'd seen so many times before. What had once seemed a vague family resemblance had turned into a startling revelation. It wasn't just her wide-set eyes, which had rolled back into her head, as if trying to escape a terrifying image, or her downturned mouth stretched open, frozen in mid-scream. Their long, dark blonde hair and pronounced cheekbones. We could have been twins. My mom did a flyby, leaving me in a cloud of sage smoke. Wait, I sucked in a singeing breath as I climbed onto the table, stretching my fingers towards the chandelier. When the smoke cleared, the dead girl was gone. Please tell me you're not on acid. Ray's voice startled me. I glanced down to see my mom and brother staring up at me with the same moss-green eyes, comforting and disarming all at once. I forced myself to breathe. I saw her. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. My mom climbed up onto the table, placing her hands on my shoulders. Are we really doing this? Rhys sighed, navigating his way onto the table and making the china clatter. He had no spiritual gifts to speak of, but he didn't like being left out. As a rule, I didn't keep secrets from them, but they both got weird whenever I saw the dead girl. If I told them she looked exactly like me now, that somehow in the past year she'd grown into my face, or I'd grown into hers, God only knows what they'd do. My mom brushed tendrils of hair from my face, and my eyes filled with tears. I had no idea what was going on with me. I wasn't much of a crier. Maybe I was just stressed about what would come next, getting a new mark. As if reading my thoughts, my mother traced a symbol below my collarbone with her fingertip. If you'd rather wait, we can do it after school. No, I'm fine, I said, patting her arm. No reason to prolong the agony. My mother had developed a series of what she believed were protection marks to shield me from the worst of visions. But she believed a lot of things. The Larkin women had a long history of alchemy and batshit craziness. So since I had the protection marks, there was no real way of knowing if I was a conduit or just another functioning schizophrenic. Don't you think she's had enough? Rhys said, clearing his throat, deep lines settling between his brows. He hated it. All of it. The history, the marks, the gold. I won't leave you unprotected, my mother said as she grasped our hands. I felt the hard ridge on her hand pressing against my skin, like the hanging girl. My mother had a long, angry scar covering the length of her left palm, a constant reminder of her past. This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you, she said as she helped us down from the table and led us up the spiral stairs to her studio. I seriously doubt that, Rhys said under his breath. I tried to play it off, but the thought of the bone needle brought a vile taste to my mouth.